Okay, welcome back. Another episode. Bringing back Spawn.
Yes.
Becoming a regular, brother.
That's right. I'm like your Lord Jamal to your DJ Vlad, like VEETO was telling me.
And then VEETO's back.
What's up, motherfuckers?
What's up? And then co-producer Anderson B. Cox in the corner there.
Yo, we
Power
here.
Lord.
Yes, indeed. So we did the Star Wars one.
Yes.
I don't know what it
Deep
was.
dive. The deep dive.
Yeah, and you three were incredible.
Thank you.
And
Shout out to my boy Joe.
Yeah, that was incredible. I learned so much from that, man. So I know Spawn, we talked. You were like, you want to come back?
Yeah.
And let's try to deep dive and discuss some Friday the 13th. And I had my friend here last month from Vegas, so he's a pretty good Friday the 13th historian.
Oh, yeah, he was incredible.
Well. Yeah.
You saw Les. That was a great episode. Shout out to Les.
But seeing Kevin Bacon, though, that's crazy. The first one. Them little ass shorts.
Oh, man.
Nutters. Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, doing that with Les and then watching this box set a couple of times recently, you know what I mean? I'm a lot more familiar with it now because, I mean, I'll be honest, there's a lot of movies that I just remember as a kid that I don't really remember watching all the way through. I just remember being scared of a part and turning away. So now revisiting these things, it's fresh.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's fresh for me. So,
and you kind of get a new perspective too as you get older. You see things and nuances you didn't see before.
Sure.
Right.
So let's talk about it, man. VEETO, what do we got for your thoughts on the original Friday the 13th?
Actually, I love that one. That would be my new hope to my, as we talked in Star Wars, last episode, where I feel like that's my home, where I'm home at. The original one is, to me, top dog for me.
Okay.
And you're right. I do believe maybe the second one had sharper direction, and their other ones had things that they did a little bit better. But the first one, I love the vibe of it. There's, it's great. I don't know if people have ever touched on this, but there is some symmetry between the original Friday 13th and Psycho. And what I mean by that is, Norman Bates was the product of his mother, while Pamela Voorhees was the product of her son.
Sure.
And I like how they played on that. And I know the basis of Friday 13th came from basically Sean Cunningham and Victor Miller coming together to basically do a meat and potatoes version of a Halloween, because Sean Cunningham was really to make a horror film to finance a better and bigger movie project he wanted to do, and a horror film was a faster way to get that money rolling. Inadvertently, though, because of the success of Halloween, Paramount wanted in on this, so they ended up selling the film to Paramount. Paramount put it out, major distribution throughout the United States, and that film killed it. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that film knocked Empires out.
I remember you telling me that before. But
I could be. I got to double check that, but I think that was the first film that snatched it from its first place spot.
Right.
It took the nation by storm. That was just huge.
Right. Snatched it on a box office weekend type thing.
I think it just overall. Now I don't want to say like maybe a box office.
No, because I thought like Empire was kicking ass, and then it came out.
Right.
You're right.
And then Friday the 13th.
You're right.
Like,
and that trend started happening.
Right.
And again, that was it kicked off the 80s and that aspect of horror films. Because it established the slasher as a new trend in horror, and that's what everybody jumped on. And it was. What can I say? What do you want to add to that?
Well, I mean, for me, it was the one that I saw the least as a kid.
Sure.
It was just never on cable. Like, 3 and 4 were always on cable, and those are the ones I'm the most familiar with, and 2. But for some reason, I never caught part 1, and so I remember when the mom and pop shops and like the video stores popping up. I said, I'm gonna grab part 1. I wasn't crazy about it initially.
Really?
Because Jason wasn't there.
So you were more because Jason wasn't in it. You were
right, because at the time, by the time when I started, you start developing 8, 9. Jason's already like a household name like Frankenstein and Dracula.
Yeah.
By 83, 84.
Sure.
So then when I finally went back, as I want to say in my mid-teens, that's when it was my shit. And now I love that movie. Like that last scene is still scary to this day. I remember I was on Hulu maybe like 2017, 2016, and me and wifey were watching it, and she hasn't seen it. She's not a horror guy, horror woman, we're horror guys, where we watch it every few years. So she hadn't seen it in like 30 plus years.
Okay, so the ending was a surprise.
The ending scared the fuck out of her. You know what I mean? So like it still works. It's still tangible.
It was crazy. Let me jump in real quick too on that ending, by the way, folks. They didn't have an ending really written at that time. Tom Savini actually was like, well, why don't we have him come out from the lake? Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it yet, too bad.
And you're watching the wrong podcast.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and that thing, that was great too. Like the people involved in that film, Sean Cunningham. I mean, Victor Miller, Tom Savini. And the reason Tom Savini got the job was they were really impressed with his work on Dawn of the Dead.
Which everyone was. Still incredible.
He didn't come back for 2, right? He went
but
to
he came back at 4.
But here's why he didn't come back. Sean didn't want to come back for 2, but he came back, I guess, as some sort of producer.
But he was doing another movie, though, Savini was.
The Burning. He did The Burning.
Yeah. He did The Burning, but he this is why he didn't want to do Friday the 13th Part 2. Because Jason wasn't the killer. He goes, we just did it as an ending just to end the film on something like that. He goes, there was no Jason. Jason's been dead, and there was never to be a Jason. The whole point of 1 was that her son died.
Right.
That sent this woman on the edge, and hence she would kill anyone that came to this camp because of what happened to her child. Right. But because Paramount now had their hands in this, like any corporate entity, we're not going to let this just go by and not make any money. This movie made almost $40 million, which, if you add it up to inflation in 1980, that's a lot of fucking money.
Well, it's the 40th anniversary this year. So, Betsy Palmer, she is incredible. I watch her and I'm just like in awe on her acting. And like as a parent, you know what I'm saying? Now I look at it, it's like, would I do the same shit if these camp counselors are supposed to be watching my kid and my kid drowns and they're off, banging their banging away, you know what I'm saying? Like, that it kind of gets you pumped. And as an adult, like, would I do the same thing?
Was she a counselor as well?
I think she was a cook.
Or something.
No, I think she was a cook.
Okay.
And another thing about Jason too, a lot of people get it twisted that Jason was a special needs child. No, I think Jason just had a physical deformity. And,
Mongoloid, right?
Right. No, I wouldn't say.
No, that's what they always called. That's
what they called him. But I don't think he was a special needs child. I think he just had a physical deformity on his face. Because if you look at Freddy vs. Jason, we're not gonna jump, but there was a scene in there that showed him he's able to communicate and act socially with everybody else, but they were making fun of him for the way he looked.
That scene fucked me up, by the way, in Freddy vs. Jason.
Right.
So it shows that he wasn't a special needs child. He just was physically deformed and he was crazy. And if you watch the remake, the stigmatism of his deformity is why he always wore a mask. He didn't like the way he looked. And there was a scene in the remake where he got angry at the dude for taking the rag off his face and his face being exposed. That's to him is something he's very insecure about.
Right.
So, in the remake.
In the remake.
When the dude ripped, and he's all,
that
shit ain't fucking right, man.
You see him, and the body language of the actor, and shout out to
Derek Mears.
He's super dope.
By the way, that was awesome.
Who was a fan?
That was when I saw the episode with you and Les. I love the way you bigged him up. I think that's fantastic. That this dude, who's maybe a minor icon at this point because of the remake, was very, very cool to a fan, and that's a rarity these days. And shout out to him for being
Derek,
that cool.
Yeah, man. I'll touch on that story when we get back to it.
So anyway, back to part 1, and one thing that I always found funny is that every time our family, there was only like 1 or 2 TVs growing up, and we'd always watch Siskel and Ebert. We would always watch Siskel and Ebert, right? And so they would always shit on horror movies and always shit on Friday the 13th. And they always make it seem like it was so misogynistic. And I want to say that's straight up bullshit. Like Friday the 13th franchise.
Well, they were bougie.
Hold on. So they have like some of the strongest women in horror movie franchise, from Betsy Palmer to even like
Felicia Rose?
No. I'm talking about straight Friday the 13th.
Adrian
I'm talking
King?
about Adrian King, who was like she the reason why she knew how to beat Jason in part 2 is because she was going to school to become like a school a shrink for kids, and say like even the telekinetic chick, like it was just strong women throughout that whole franchise.
Yes.
So for them to say that is just like they're not watching it. Well, they went in there with their arms folded, and they were pissed from jump. They didn't want to like it.
They were being bougie, and here's the thing about Robert Ebert. I mean, God rest his soul. I had no beefs with him, but I mean, because when they were doing their tangent against horror films, I was far too young to understand it. But growing up, in retrospect, this guy did like a cult film called, I think, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. That was just a B movie based on like the Manson murders. So, and it's a cheesy B movie that's fun, but for him to sit there and talk shit about Friday the 13th, dude, this guy made a movie.
He did himself?
Yeah.
Oh.
Check it out, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
That's not the one with Sharon Tate in it, is it?
No, but they took a lot of inspiration from the Manson murders for that movie, though.
No.
She was in a movie called
She was in a movie.
No, it was called Valley. She was in a movie called Valley of the Dolls, but
right.
This wasn't like a sequel. It was just called Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Gotcha.
Where
Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Yeah,
okay.
So I think the director was Russ Meyer, who was another exploitation director. Fantastic dude. Look him up if you don't know him.
Right.
I'm gonna take it back real quick. VEETO said that it made 40 million, 58 million for 1981 or 1981, right?
80.
Friday the 13th, 1980. Yeah, for 58 or it was 58 million, and the equivalent of that is 174 million in today's.
Damn.
Quite a budget of $700,000.
Yeah.
Actually,
$700,000.
$700,000, and they bought the movie for 1.5 million. So for $1.5 million, they bought it. So what they generated more than paid for anything in that movie. So of course they're gonna be like, yeah, we have to make another one.
So they bought it for 1.5.
Yes, because Sean was like, you want to pay me 1.5? Cool. Sean made his money and it was good. You know what I mean? Because that was the whole point, was I'll make some cheddar on this and I'm gonna flip that money to do this project overhead.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as I can start, Friday the 13th, the original aged beautifully. The kills are just ridiculous. The one with Kevin Bacon, and it's funny because a lot of the documentaries, the big stars rarely ever come back. Kevin Bacon on this, it was like a GQ magazine where he was breaking down his most iconic moments, and he was saying they actually talked about Friday the 13th. It's the first time I ever heard him talk about Friday the 13th, and he was saying is that this picture when they're had the arrow through his throat is the picture that he signs the most. Fans just love to see me get him killed or whatever. I'll forward you the clip so you can edit it in. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just perfect to me. It's just a lot of people think it's boring. It has that 70s style pace, which I love, me personally. So I think it's just a perfect movie. I love the ending, and that's why they'll never be able to remake it. I think they could just expand on the Jason universe if they ever try to do another story, because the swerve, I think as far as the swerve, it's one of the most underrated swerves in horror history. Like Norman dressed up as his mom is considered the icon, the iconic swerve, and then Bruce Willis and then Bruce Willis being dead, another iconic swerve in horror.
Sleepaway Camp. We don't want to say it because the middleman, but the fact that it was the mom killing the whole time and she was that grimy with it. Right.
I mean, that's an underrated swerve. Even though the franchise is iconic, I think the swerve with it being Mrs. Voorhees is underrated.
Well, like I said, that's the symmetry between Friday the 13th and Psycho. It goes back to that. You know what I mean? Another thing too, that it was a first. The body count was actually fairly high. Now, there was proto-slashers, and for those who don't know what a proto-slasher is basically elements of a slasher, but that wasn't quite there just yet. There were elements that they toyed with, and this was a lot in the 70s. Even technically, Psycho in itself is a proto-slasher. They don't really have a high body count, but it is always with someone committing murders, you know? Mm-hmm. Friday the 13th was the one who really upped that. I believe there was 10 murders. Am I correct on that?
I think so, yeah.
In the first one?
Yeah, in the first Friday the 13th.
Probably, yeah.
Crazy Ralph was my boy. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of good things in that problem.
And they had to have one I think every 15 minutes that was the established formula. And that's what Victor Miller came out with from watching Halloween. Okay, kill here, it's kill here. Like the meat and potatoes aspect was, Halloween kind of spread it out without a doubt.
Right.
But, for what Sean wanted to do, which was going to be a grindhouse exploitation film, okay, take the meat and potatoes of that and let's spread it out over this much. And that was what made it so unique. And again, combine that with Tom Savini's special effects, which were mind-blowing at the time and really actually hold up today. And they're simple when you look at it today, but they're executed just perfectly. Because again, and what Tom Savini would do, he would treat the camera like the audience, and he would be the magician. So he knew where to place the camera angle. Goes, we're gonna place it here. I'm gonna do this, and like he already had it calculated in his head. And I've never known anyone else to do that.
They also had the benefit of a lot of off-screen kills.
Right.
So, not saying that's any easier by any means.
No, but it adds to that, though.
Right,
and
exactly.
It's 19 kills the first movie.
God damn.
19?
That's what it says. No?
I don't think 19.
Well, you have the two counselors in the very beginning. You have Annie, the hitchhiker. Ralph did not.
Ralph died at 2, which pissed me off.
It says 157 total kills for the franchise.
I don't know if there were even 19 people in the first one.
Yeah, because Kevin Bacon, his girl, I thought it was like 9.
I thought it was 10.
Yeah, because
when did you first see it?
Friday 13th, probably.
That's New Beginning. I'm like, well,
part 5 then, yes.
Yeah.
Part 5, yes.
So I first saw it. I don't know. I was like, it came out at 80?
80, yeah.
80. So
I was May of 80. May of 80. If I'm not mistaken.
My birthday.
I was probably
May
7, 8. I mean, I don't really remember seeing the whole thing as a kid. I remember being afraid of the POV shots through the woods. With shout out to Black Christmas, by the way,
which set that off.
I think it set it off. I could be
wrong. It did set it
off.
Black
Christmas, 1974, bro. That is freaky.
And slept on. It's
highly,
so fucking dope.
Highly slept on. shout out to Bob Clark. People don't
For sure.
And you know, it's funny. People will remember him for a Christmas Story, which is an amazing movie. But
2 great Christmas movies.
I discovered Black Christmas when I was getting back into horror way back like 20 some years ago, right? And I always knew about Black Christmas.
Right.
Got it. Amazing. Margaret Kidder, who
Kiddo.
played Lois Lane.
Yeah, she's amazing in that shit.
Sure.
It was a smart movie. It expanded. It took what Psycho did and really took it to a whole new level. And I do agree with you. And I've always felt this way. That Black Christmas is the connecting bridge to Halloween.
Right.
Sure.
And they're both
absolutely.
and they're both holiday themes, which no one really pays attention to.
So let me ask you this. But the ending, when him being the call coming from in the house, what came first? Was that when a stranger calls, or
no,
was
Black Christmas? Black Christmas was 1974.
So stranger calls bit that whole ending then?
I don't know if it.
I don't know if they did. Maybe inspired by it.
Maybe I don't. You know. I don't think it was even inspired by it. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I do believe there was certain myths that were to scare people, like, you know, make sure you close your door and lock the windows. There could be someone in your attic, and it played on that fear.
Right.
I don't think they took anything from Black Christmas. It was more like just kind of like a wife's tale to play on the fear of babysitters or anybody else. Make sure you always lock your door and close your window because you never know who's going to sneak into the house. Right. I think it was more on that.
Looking at the original now, man. It definitely holds.
Yep.
It definitely holds up. I think it's suspenseful than a lot of movies.
The most suspenseful of the whole franchise.
That's arguable. Yeah,
because after that becomes straight up slasher.
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
two leans a little bit more to part 1,
right.
and then 3 is just balls to the wall from the rest of the franchise.
But as far as the original, just like I said, the POV stuff to me is in the confinement of everybody up there. People getting killed off. This woman is running around.
Betsy is just
right.
dope.
She's doing these things we don't know at this point.
Yeah,
but you don't feel safe watching any of these people, man.
No, because they're isolated and they're unsuspecting of what's going around.
They're not trying to leave.
Yeah, they're just chilling. They're having a good time.
They're in her environment, and she's studying them like a predator, kind of like a panther or a tiger or a lion in the jungle, watching its prey like a cat. You know what I mean? And they're doomed from the start because that's not their playing field.
They're all doomed.
Think about this fucker. Think about the culmination of this franchise, and we'll jump to that. But just think of the genesis of it. Went from his mother, to then a potato sack, right, or whatever.
Which was
to then a hockey mask,
and
still kept moving,
right.
You know what I mean?
Like
an evolution,
robotic mask,
right?
In Jason,
and I believe you guys touched on this in the prior episode with Les. I do think they took some inspiration. I don't know if they ever copped to it or not, but from the town that dreaded sunset,
right?
Which was actually a really great proto slasher.
I've never seen that one.
I have it. Scream Factory put it out on Blu-ray about 4 years ago. A really good movie, very 70s though. So that's the thing. Yeah. So if you're gonna check it out, appreciate it as it's a byproduct of a certain time and era. So don't go in there expecting like Friday the 13th 80. This is a 70s byproduct. Very haunting and chilly though. Again, it was based on true events, and I liked what they took from that, and I thought they made it even spookier with Jason. But we'll get into that when we get to part 2.
Oh yeah, so with part 2, I'll set it off with part 2. Sure. That opening scene where they killed the main chick from part 1. He's pissed off. You killed my mom. So he puts her fucking head in the fridge. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And then because you see her, you think it's gonna be Laurie Strode, where she's gonna be the main chick, and then next thing you know, she gets it in the first scene. Nobody's safe.
I think she wanted more money, right? Is that what
right?
She wanted more money,
right. But we don't know that back then. You know what I'm saying?
We didn't know that, and to touch on what Mike said too, though, they called her in for a day of shooting, and it was all improvised.
Yeah, right.
Like, lay in the bed.
A lot of that was one shot down the hall, one shot. Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And she said she was expecting to get some sort of script or anything. They were like, no, okay, try this. Now do that. There we go. This is all instructional and improvised at that time.
They did her dirty.
They did do it dirty.
Okay, so
this is 80s politics. You
can
get away with that shit.
Yeah, there's no Me Too at that time.
But here's the thing, though. She was never signed for any sequels, and I don't really agree with actors that be like, oh, I have ownership of the character. No, you're part of a crew who comes together to work on a project. Right. You have no ownership of this character.
She didn't really do anything special in part 1.
But I can see where you.
Yeah, but she wasn't like,
come on, man.
So Joaquin Phoenix, the way he embody the Joker. I could see taking ownership,
right.
or like even Heath Ledger as his version of the Joker. I could see taking ownership.
But it's different,
but like the thing is, what does she bring besides screaming and yelling?
She was
and she cut off Betsy Palmer's head.
She was the original Scream Girl for Friday, so there is that. You have to give her
but
that.
The thing is that ownership. I'm agreeing with what you said earlier. What kind of ownership would she have? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I know. Okay, and I agree with you. Actually, going back to my original statement, a lot of these actors feel like, I have had some ownership. No, you owned the performance, and thank you for the great performance, but there really was no need for her for that story moving forward. You would have just retreaded Halloween 2 at that point. And I'm glad it kind of made sense. You know, I loved her work and I appreciate her. I did like
her.
But I think it worked out best because it would have just been Halloween 2 all over again, and I would have killed the series. I think it was great to hear. We're gonna cut off the last remaining part from part 1, and people were like, okay. And then the issue is, well, Jason's dead. How are you gonna make a sequel on Jason? Well, Joe's here in my mind canon is, Jason never really died. I think what happened, I was telling Spawn this, I go, how I feel is, the rumor was he passed away. I just think he may have got brain damage or was severely injured from
he wasn't the same. He wasn't the same. And so in Betsy's mind,
she used that as
motivation. That makes sense.
She used that to keep up, hey, I'm doing this to justify my actions towards you guys. You let him drown because that's what the rumor that spread apart about that.
You killed my son.
Did she have him tucked away?
That's what I think.
So. I think so because there was a shed that was his home.
Did she not know he was alive? All right, go ahead.
I think he was alive because there's been 5 years between part 1 and 2, and I think he saw from hiding that his mom was killed, and it's possible a lot of those POV shots was maybe Jason just in the background lurking, watching.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so
I always thought that too.
And so so Betsy, Pamela Voorhees passes away. Jason has to leave the house for whatever reason. He goes in hiding, makes a makeshift shack out in the woods. And that's unfortunately.
I always thought that she kept him in the woods because he wasn't. I always thought that in your mind canon,
it's possible.
And the thing is, like, he wasn't the same. He was a mindless monster at that point.
I'll disagree.
After he drowned,
I'm going to jump in and disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Brain damage.
No, I don't think he was brain damage.
He couldn't continue on then, right?
He didn't have no brain damage, and I'll tell you why. I think he was looking in the background. He was a mama's boy. That's always been established. He was a mama's boy. She was overprotective of her child. So guess what? Whatever she said, he did. Now that lifeline was taken away from him, now he has to make do. Now, if he was...
And the last thing he saw her do was kill...
Well, without, again, moving forward from that, though, how do we establish Jason 5 years? He learned how to be a hunter. He learned how to take his vengeance out on people. He had to make a makeshift shaft. And if you look at 2, 3, and 4, that's the start of. There's 3 trilogies. You can look at there's 3 trilogies and 8 movies.
Right.
The start of the first trilogy goes from part 2 through part 4 that intertwines with the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, which intertwines with the Resurrection of Jason trilogy. That being said, so I think in those 5 years, Jason had to learn how to become a hunter and a survivalist. He made a makeshift shaft. I'm pretty sure Pamela Voorhees had her own home. But if no one's there paying the bills and she's supposed to be dead and you're supposed to be in hiding, he probably left out of fear, made a makeshift shack, living like some survivalist out there, and now he's killing out of anger. Tracked her down. Now, if you were a mindless killer, how would you know where to find the person who killed your mom in the city, murk her out, and leave?
Well, how would he do it as a survivalist? He's in the woods. If he got in the woods, how's he going to find this bitch? He's going to look at the yellow pages?
That's fair, too. All that's fair.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
There was
an intelligent person.
Skippies.
Okay, no. The answer to that question is an intelligent person will find a way. He wasn't stupid. He was never stupid. He had a physical deformity, and a tragic accident happened to him, and probably his mom brainwashed him to stay in hiding. So the rumor was out that he drowned and he died.
We don't know how far away Alice was in 2, right?
Right. That's true.
Lake, I guess.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
But then again, why would she stay near Crystal Lake?
Right.
Well, okay, I guess it took place somewhere in New York, right?
Well, you know what? She did say that on the conversation, that she's not going anywhere, something along those lines.
Yeah, I believe it took place in New York, somewhere in New York where the camp was at. Upstate.
Yeah.
So who knows how long that trek was, but he made the trek, murked her out, and now he's going around. And as you know, some lakes, like I believe Lake Paris is technically like a city, right? I mean, it may not be very big, but there might be some sections, right, that share that area. Same thing with Camp Crystal Lake. Even though Camp Crystal Lake is closed to a section of the lake, another part of the lake you have another part where these camp counselors go for training, right? And you also have where people may live by the lake. So who knows how big this...
It'll take you straight to the Hudson, too.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of area he can play with that he uses as stalking ground. So after And it's possible that what was the actress, the final girl's Alice, after he murked out Alice, maybe that was what set him off to continue murking out people and went after those counselors that were in training to finish his mom's work, because that's all he knew. His mom would kill people that came in the vicinity. So now that he made his first human kill, now he's going to go after this group over here. Yeah. And that's what he did. He hunted them down. And you can see
the kills in that one again.
They were neutered. Yes. They were fun but neutered, but they were still. I think they were I think they were good. They were great, but they were neutered though. I thought they were done very, very creatively. But again, they were neutered.
Neutered? What do you mean? Because that shish kebab kill is
ridiculous. Yeah, that shit is incredible.
Right.
They were supposed to be a lot gorier.
Well, they had to cut that stuff.
Because of what happened with Friday 1, Paramount went through a lot of things just to get it to pass through. So they were supposed to be more elaborate.
Okay.
But this is, if you look at between 1 and 2, you definitely neutered. I mean, it can almost be PG-13 at some points because they really had to cut back on that.
The garage, what is it called when they put the belt around? Crazy
yeah.
Ralph's neck.
Yeah.
So there were some dope.
The kills were very creative, but you notice they weren't very bloody like they were in the first one. They had to be smart about that.
Well, he was a rookie.
Well, and I'm glad you touched on that. And you touched on that perfectly. Listen to what Spawn said. He was a rookie. That explains why he wasn't good at a lot of things. Like he let people get away. He's chasing after them. When they attacked him, he freaked out and got scared. Look at his body movement.
Right.
So he was a novice in part 2, and going into 3, he's starting to get a little bit stronger, a little better at his craft, and then finally in 4, that was a full-on hunter.
Yeah. What did you think about 2 when you first saw it?
2, I loved, man. It moved right on to the next. I was okay with the potato sack.
Yeah, I love that look.
Shout out to Steve Dash.
I love that look. Yep, rest in peace.
And he was incredible with that. Yeah, he's out of Brooklyn, right? I looked him up. He's in a lot of shit.
There was 2 actors actually.
Yeah, Warrington Gillette was the guy that jumped through the window.
Right.
Yeah, and that was it.
That was it. You know what I mean? Steve Dash did the majority of that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone?
No, you're right.
No.
Yeah.
No, he did all the work. I guess William Gillette. I don't know, was it because he was drinking or something happened where he did the one window scene, and then the stunt double really had to do all the heavy lifting.
And if you look at the credits, Warrington Gillette gets credit for Jason,
and that was the biggest
stunt double for Steve Dash.
Yeah, and Steve Dash, that was one of the things that always angered him about that.
Is that right?
He did all the work, but he was like, I got no credit until years later.
Right.
When people
Everyone's
find out.
like, yo, it's all about Steve Dash.
He was actually in Nighthawks too somewhere. I looked him up.
That's a dope movie, by the way.
We were just talking about how dope it was.
And I just saw it recently.
Yep.
What'd you think?
I watched it probably, no lie, in the last couple months, probably 5 times.
Yeah, that's a great film.
Hello,
I love
Stallone.
that movie, man. Oh, dude. Yeah, man. Incredible, man.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to 2. As I'm watching these, I talked to Les about, I look up people. I am DB people, and one of the ones that really hurt my heart, man, was Marta Cobra, who played Sandra.
Oh yes, you told me about this guy. Break it down.
We're thinking about you, Marta, but she's still alive and stuff. But she's going through some tough times, and so shout out to you, Marta, because you were incredible as Sandra. She was part of that shish kebab kill with Jeff. I think his name was Jeff.
Yeah.
Dude with the hat.
Yeah.
So 2 also had, like you mentioned, Spawn, the Ralph kill, right?
Oh yeah. That should hurt my heart.
I was sad to see Ralph go.
He had like 2 more movies in him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm good with, a lot of times I don't like complacency, but he's a fun character.
Yeah.
He's very old school. You're all doomed. That type of character. They try to do it again in part 8 with the boat version of Ralph.
Oh, that
wasn't the same.
Annoyed the fuck out of me.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. But the original Ralph in 1 and 2 was super dope.
It was also end of an era too, because you could tell there's different eras in the 80s, and you can tell 82 and 81 were almost 2 different eras. In the beginning, the start of a different era.
Oh yeah, the chicks were incredible in that one.
Incredible.
Well, that goes without saying.
Well, that I think that one set it off.
Yeah, that one really set it off.
They had some pretty good kills. Now that was the one where the dude was hanging upside down too, right?
Yeah.
They had some pretty good kills in that. 2 was pretty strong for me.
Yeah, and like I said, like I always would on cable back in the 80s. That one I would always, for some reason, always catch at the end. Like but there was no guide on the TV. Your TV guide, or do you have the little cable, little skinny one?
We had select TV. You just had to turn it on.
Oh, see, in New York it was, or back east it was different. So we had like this little. It was like the big TV guide, and then they had a little tiny little booklet, HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, and then like for some reason I would always catch fucking part 2 at the end, and I'm like, damn it, you know what I'm saying? I always forget.
That was in the mid to late 80s. Then.
No, it was in the
shout out Amy Steele,
like 83, 84.
Oh yes, Amy Steele.
She was incredible.
Awesome.
Ginny. Yeah, she was dope.
Ginny was probably the
she was strong.
smartest of the final girls.
Yeah.
And she was just like, you know, when she put on the thing and she was like, Jason, you know what I'm saying? And it just, you know, and then I love it when the little nod where he looks and he sees his mom's head. I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
that was a good reveal.
Yeah, that
right?
was a nice little reveal. Little
Good
subtle. It was very subtle. We talked about it before. Less is more when it comes to horror.
Yeah.
And that little subtle was, oh shit.
The little body movements, it was great acting all around that film. And
Yeah.
the little nuances really sold it and sold that character,
Right.
I felt.
And the thing, I like how she reveals that she goes to school in the bar.
Sure.
And you know what I'm saying? So that helped out. There was no like, how's this bitch know to put on a sweater and say Jason?
Well,
You know what
why
I'm
do you
saying?
think people don't know how to do anything? I'm sure they have an
Pack-a-Knack
education.
No. But a lot of times in movies, they'll just have it where it's just like, oh, I by the way, I know how to do this. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's just bad, you know, bad story writing, bad scripts. And yeah, it moved the plot along properly.
That
you
was
know?
Pack-a-Knack Lounge, I think was what it was called. Pack-a-Knack something was the name of the bar they were at.
Oh, yeah.
Two. So, and then they kill with Mark. Down the wheelchair going backwards. That
Yeah.
stunt,
Yes.
that stunt was dope, man.
That was-
I mean,
that's
dude was
amazing.
bouncing, just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that
straight
was
down.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great kill.
There actually, for some reason, I keep thinking The Exorcist when I ever see that going because of the stairs from The Exorcist.
Sure.
And when I see the
Right.
wheelchair coming down, I always often wonder if that was inspired by that somehow, some way.
Had a
Yeah,
little
I
problem
always
with-
used to think that was 3 for some reason because in the beginning of 3 they always show the clips.
It seems like it is.
and I've
right.
seen 3 so many
Right.
times
Yeah.
that I sometimes the kills intertwine for me.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but no, it was 4 that where they kind of did a recap of the first
Right,
two films. Maybe
right,
you're thinking
right.
of 4, not
Yeah,
3.
maybe 4 because that's my favorite one.
Okay.
And that's
Four-
always my go-to.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Because 4
But
opens
now
up with 2.
I'm getting close to having a new favorite.
Okay.
And that's always like that with the
You evolve.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
you know what I mean?
evolve.
Because
Yeah.
you see different nuances every time.
Right.
Sure. So, any other thoughts on 2?
Dope.
Well, I'm sorry. What was the name of the actress you said that's going through a rough time? We said
Marta Kober.
She was the one who got shish kebab on top of the dude,
Sandra.
right?
Yeah, she was doing at the payphone with Jeff, the guy at the hat.
Interesting side note about that. So she was actually 17 when she got the role, and they had it. I guess the sex scene was supposed to be a lot more elaborate, but they found out her true age, and they really had to be like, "Yeah, we can't be doing that."
Born in '63 in New York.
Oh yeah.
No, she was good. Like I said, the kills were pretty good.
They were actually, you know what? Considering that Tom Savini had nothing to do with that,
Right.
they were very creative and smart. And I think, in retrospect, smart how they went about it in terms of what they were going up against, knowing they were going to
Yeah.
get chopped on the nuts from the NPAA.
Right. Exactly.